Okay, let's get started here, I guess a little bit after 7. I'd like to welcome everyone to the planning board meeting, August 6th. Would you join in a pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Catherine, you want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Kashani?
Here.
Mr. Giardina?
Here.
Mr. Grosel?
Here.
Mr. Malta?
Here.
Mr. Mixel?
Present.
Mr. Artuso?
Here.
Mrs. Maltman? Here. Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Okay, before we start, first of all, there's one application for the coffee shop at the, I'm sorry? Oh, you're not here, I'm sorry. Is that any better? Is that? You probably don't want to hear me anyway, so, no, just kidding. Can you hear okay now? Yes. Is that better? Okay, I'll just move it up here a little bit more then. I hope everybody, you might have to move your mics and just keep them close to you then. If I do back off, let me know, okay? All right, anyways, I was saying, the one application is the coffee shop that was proposed as the last item on the agenda. They have requested to be tabled to a future date, so they will not be on this evening, okay? With that, we have the other two, and Mark, why don't you go ahead and start with the first one then, okay?
First table item on tonight's agenda, Birdsong at Conover Cove subdivision located between the east end of Conover Cove Lane and Webster Road. Applicant Grove Underhill LLC is requesting preliminary final subdivision site plan approval along with a public hearing associated with the creation of 9 lots for construction of 8 single-family residences and an associated stormwater management facility on a 5.55 acre parcel located in an R3 single-family residential district under sections 269-11, 296-20, and 350-12 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Okay, Mr. Vars, would you like to give us a little presentation of what the proposal is?
Yeah.
Before you start, Peter, I want to acknowledge that we did receive letter, unsigned, don't have any idea who sent it or what, but we did receive a letter from Friends of Webster Trails and somebody else on there.
Did everybody want to raise your hands that was involved?
Well, I'm not asking for that. It's too late for that. It should be on the paper. That means nothing to me now. But we did receive it. You sent it to the town, and as per usual, the town did forward this to all the board members. We already had it, so really wasn't necessary to make envelopes and bring them up again to the town tonight, this evening. We really didn't need them. We already had them. Anyways, with that, we'll address this as we're going along. Go ahead, Mark, or Peter, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Peter Vars with BME Associates, appearing tonight on behalf of Grove Underhill LLC, who is the owner of the property and the developer of the proposed property. With me this evening is Mitch Brodsky and Jeff Bell from Grove Underhill. As you mentioned, we're here this evening. It's a continuation of from our last appearance back on June 4th of 2024, where we brought forward the proposed preliminary and final subdivision application for the proposed subdivision of the subject property. Just to refresh the board's memory, what the proposal is, it's a proposed 8-lot single-family home residential subdivision of 5.5 acres. The property is zoned R3 residential. The plan and the development is proposed, or the plan has been prepared and the development is proposed as a conventional subdivision per direction we received from this board back during the concept plan review stage at the end of 2023. The lots have been prepared in conformance with the R3 zoning district criteria, which includes a minimum lot areas of 22,000 square feet, minimum lot widths of 100 feet, front setbacks of 50 feet, including 50 feet to New York State Route 250, 15-foot side setbacks, and 50-foot rear setbacks. Since our last appearance back in June, we went through the various comments that we received from this board from that meeting, along with public comment, also with comments that were received from the town's consulting engineer and from the town's PRC. The result of that is excuse me, is on July 17th, we submitted revised plans to this board, and our goal this evening, or our purpose this evening, is to go through with you what the plan revisions are. The primary plan revision, really, which was the primary issue discussed at the June meeting, was that the plan no longer now proposes an extension of Conifer Cove Lane eastward to serve the proposed development and connect to New York State Route 250. Conifer Cove Lane will remain as it is today, as a dead-end street serving those existing residents on Conifer Cove Lane. Through consultation with the town highway superintendent and town staff, the design's been prepared. We're looking to preserve a minimum 30-foot vegetative buffer at the end of Conifer Cove Lane, so there's both a physical and visual barrier between the two streets. So as you can see up on the screen, the layout, the proposed layout now is the subdivision would still be served by a proposed dedicated street to be named Sage Forest Lane. We will label the maps accordingly. That street name was just recently approved by the County 911 office. The layout of this street has been reviewed with the town highway superintendent and the fire marshal. The road is proposed at just about 600 feet in length. It will terminate at its western end in a T turnaround that meets the criteria of the New York State Building and Fire Code. The pavement width would be 26 feet wide, plus the concrete gutters, and it would be situated within a 60-foot right-of-way. The proposed access point onto New York State Route 250 has been reviewed with the New York State Department of Transportation. They have reviewed the access location, find it acceptable. The access point meets the required stopping site distance and the recommended intersection site distance for the proposed location. And that information is all documented on the final site plans that were submitted. We just recently met with the town back just Thursday, August 1st, and this meeting also included the town supervisor. The purpose of that meeting was to clarify the developer's intent as it relates to this subdivision, as it relates to the dedication of the proposed road. It is the developer's intent, and he confirmed this in this meeting back on Thursday, that these lots are to be subdivided for sale lots. The lots will be sold as single-family lots for single-family home construction. It is not intended to be a rental community. The town made their position very clear that if it were to be a rental community, that the road would not be accepted in dedication. It would not be a public road. It would in turn become a private road. But again, to clarify, that is not the developer's intent. It is his intent for these lots to be for sale, single-family home lots. The remainder of the subdivision design is very consistent with the original application in which was presented and reviewed back on the June 4th meeting. As we mentioned, the site has been laid out. The subdivision has been prepared to conform to the R3 zoning lot standards and zoning criteria, and the subdivision design itself has been prepared to meet the standards of the town of Webster's design standards. These items include, as the already previously mentioned, lot standards that have been established. The site will be served, or the 8 proposed lots would be served by public water and public sewer that would be extended from existing facilities on Conifer Cove Lane. The project will include a comprehensive stormwater management plan that's been prepared per the town of Webster standards and the New York State DEC's stormwater design manual. The stormwater management plan will include a stormwater management facility that will be located up in the northwest corner of the property. It's the area highlighted in blue on the rendering. This stormwater management plan maintains the current drainage patterns through the property, which is a south to north pattern. The facilities have been designed to provide the required water quality treatment areas and to attenuate the water quality runoff, or water quantity runoff, excuse me. All that design has met the standards of the DEC. This is summarized in the engineer's report and the stormwater management plan that has been provided to the town for town engineer and staff review. The other key component of that stormwater management plan is it does include a construction erosion control plan to address stormwater and erosion during the construction process. The last thing we would like to address this evening as it relates to our follow-up appearance here this evening is regards to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR. As we have put forward, it is our belief that this proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to New York State Parts 617.4 and 617.5, in that this proposed development does not meet any of the Type 1 thresholds. We do understand that the town has interpreted a memo of understanding from the New York State Department of Health that realty subdivisions should be a Type 1 action. We're pursuing clarifying that with the DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, because it is the DEC that's actually charged with administering the SEQR regulations and instigating any changes. We don't have that clarification. So with that being said, what we have done, we have provided you with the resubmittal, the long form Part 1 EAF, such that if the town does determine that this is a Type 1 action, you can proceed with your determination, because we are providing the EAF Part 1 as required, along with our plans and the engineer's report. Regardless if it's an unlisted or a Type 1 action, I don't think there's any doubt that the planning board is the correct entity to be the lead agency, so we would look to the planning board to declare their intent to be lead agency for SEQR. So that's really all we wanted to do this evening, was go over with you what the changes that have been made since we last appeared in June, which that primary focus being as to the concern that was raised last June about Conifer Cove Lane and its connectivity out to Webster Road, and how the applicant has revised his plan accordingly to address that concern raised. So with that, myself or the applicant will be available to answer any questions when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Okay?
Okay, I know there's several neighbors or interested parties here this evening who wish to speak. I would add, we will open it, it is a public hearing, and all I'm gonna ask is please, just limit your amount of speech, and if you can just, please don't repeat. If somebody's spoken about something, don't repeat the same thing. We don't need to hear it over and over, okay? We'll keep it friendly and try and keep it as short as we can. Now, one other thing, in your letter, again, I wish I had a contact. I would have been happy to call and sit with you and talk to you about some of the things on here, but no address, so I don't know who to talk to. So when you, again, you said raise your hand, doesn't do anything for me this evening. However, there are some things in here that you have that are factual, and they're things that are addressed, and we agree with, and we go along with it. Some of the things in here are, I don't know where you got your information, on Facebook or something, but it's not factual. And you'd be better off contacting somebody at the town or myself. I'd be even willing to talk to someone if I could. No, we're not. And we could resolve issues, you know, before we get into a situation where everybody's here and upset over the situation and this and that, and they don't have the facts. Or they believe they have them, but they don't have them. So I'd rather see a group more prepared and then come in and then voice your opinion on different topics, okay? With that, does any board members want to say anything in regard to what we've heard from Mr. Vars, or we can just open it up and give a few comments from people? We'll do that, okay? All right, so let's do this. So what I'm going to ask is if you go up to the podium, give us your name and address, and speak clearly into it, and let's keep it just short. So go ahead, just who wants to go first? Anyone? Somebody in back? Yes, ma'am.
Janice Jackman, 27 Westover Drive. This is very hard for me to speak about this property. I have a lot of emotions tied to it, but I'll do my best. I wish I could look up and see you all clearly when I look up, but I need these reading glasses to be able to read what I wrote, and it doesn't allow me to do both. There is a buzzword out there. Have you heard it? It's a goal of 99% of the companies in existence. Politicians speak of it. Educational institutions want to be a part of it. World leaders boast of their efforts to hit the mark in this category. But I ask you, how are Webster policymakers doing in this regard? And what is the buzzword, you ask? Sustainability. This moment here tonight is an opportunity to see if Webster is hitting the mark. I happen to know a little bit about sustainability, in addition to what we see on TV and whatnot that's in the media. I wrote a book on this topic when I took a half-year sabbatical and I moved to South America and lived in the country of Chile. I attended seminar after lecture after presentation by some of the world's top experts in this field. One of the biggest takeaways is that sustainability is multi-pronged. Besides an economic aspect, there are two others, and the other 2/3 of this pie that I want to highlight regarding the proposed property development. The first is societal. This
Ma'am,
property,
Denise, let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Look, you're gonna be going on for a while.
I'm not.
I'm not gonna leave that much time.
I
This is
understand.
a project. If I want you to just specifically address this project.
I am.
We don't need to know about sustainability. Those are books we've all seen before.
Can
Let's
I-
stick right to this project, please.
I am. Can I
Okay.
continue?
Well, if you're sticking to the
This
project.
property butts up to a nature trail. People in the housing nearby can tell you it's a nature haven. They themselves see the wildlife in their own neighborhood, and they love it. Hence, I think many of them are here. The love of the animals is one reason we have joined together. The preservation of this property and the bird trail create a human haven of walkers, bird watchers, people in need of a respite from a busy day, an opportunity to commune and meditate while in nature. Destroying the wooded lot will do nothing to help the peace and serenity of the trail that is beloved by Webster society. The bird trail risks becoming a tiny sliver, isolated in its own natural wonder. People don't want nature that is 1 foot wide to the left and 1 foot wide to the right. They want the full beauty, feeling like they enter a special spot in Webster where life is worth living. They can leave their cares behind for a few moments and connect with that green thing called nature that is a healer to all who partake of it. And again, it is not meant to be 1 foot to the right and 1 foot to the left. That wooded property adjacent to the bird trail is so vitally important to the preservation of this nature, which fulfills this part of the societal aspect of sustainability. It's a place where people go and commune and feel better. It's where they see nature that is good for society. The other prong of sustainability is simply environmental. This is clearly a moment for you to consider this aspect as one of great importance. It is an area that ought to be protected. It is full of wildlife. It is a haven of original woods, not to be replaced by a tree planting here and there. These are areas that offer value as carbon sinks, much needed in fighting the global warming we're all experiencing. These trees provide a home to countless species that we keep leaving habitat-less by overbuilding. Certainly their well-being has to be considered. They are living creatures that survive and thrive by being separate from humans in their own space. We must provide it to them as good stewards of the land. I'm on my last page.
How long
I
is
hope
that page?
Webster
I hope
will
it's short now,
consider
'cause
this key
We've
topic
been going
that
over 5 minutes, so
that
please.
everyone else is trying desperately to prove that they're in that arena. Webster, make a choice tonight to act sustainably and think about the environment and the society's needs, not just economic goals. Be courageous, Webster board in front of me. Your town will thank you for it.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Now, let me ask you a question before you step away. Let me ask you a question. The property has been there, right? It's next to the bird sanctuary. What would you propose we do with it?
Do you want my honest
Yeah,
answer?
absolutely, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, my honest answer
Yeah.
is have the courage to leave it alone.
How do we do that? Tell me how.
I don't.
No, this is, wait a minute, folks, hold on. This is a very important part of this. We get this all the time. You know, Mom and Pa had a farm,
Yep.
you know? And you or others have worked at Xerox, Kodak, Bausch and Lomb, had pensions and everything else. But Mom and Pa worked the farm their whole life. Now they're 65, 70 years old. They want to retire. That property is their pension. The zoning allows precisely what the applicant is looking for. So would you tell that farmer that he can't sell his property?
This isn't a farm.
Wait, whoa. Excuse me, I'm not talking to you yet. I'll let you go up and talk, hold on. Nobody said it is a farm, it's a piece of property. My point is, that piece of property was owned by someone who, for whatever reason, wants to sell it. Now, anyone could have bought the parcel. This board doesn't distinguish between who's right and who's wrong or anything like that. It's who owns the property. Does it meet the requirements of zoning? Does it meet the requirements of zoning? Is it an allowed use? Yes, it is. We cannot say you cannot develop the piece of property. There's a criteria for restrictions for it. Yes, absolutely. But we cannot say you can't develop it. I'm not saying it's a farm by any means, but it is a parcel of land, and it is developable. That's it. Now, anyone could buy a parcel. That's what you do. You buy it. If you want it, you buy it. I don't know how many people are familiar. The town of Webster's got more open space parkland than anybody in Monroe County.
If I can
And
just
that's a
say,
real tribute to the town.
if I can just say, that seems funny to me, as everywhere I drive, there's either a for sale sign on the land, which you're saying they're entitled to, but there are so many housing developments, and I'm a teacher. I know a lot of community members, a lot of parents, a lot of families, a lot of teachers. No one can believe the overdevelopment of this town. So if you say to me, oh, we have more park space than any other town, I find that hard to believe, unless you're talking about all of Lake Road and all of that.
No, I'm talking parklands, town-owned parklands, I'm talking.
This is not even, however.
Okay.
I just want to
think
say,
we're not gonna- let's
this
agree
is
to
not
disagree.
even
Okay.
just a piece of land. It's natural, original woods. And it's home to, A, so many species, B, it borders a natural trail.
Denise, we understand
Janice.
that. What I'm saying is.
Janice, please.
I'm sorry.
Janice.
It is zoned for residential R3.
Well, then is it your zoning code that's improper? Can I ask that?
It is not improper. It is what it currently is. Okay, look. we're
When
not
was,
gonna argue.
when was the last time it was
Okay,
looked at and
You
changed?
left your comment. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I thought
Does
you were
anyone else wishing
engaging
to
me,
speak?
but I guess not.
Please.
So, someone else come up, please.
Anyone wishing to speak, go up. And would please stick just to this specific project.
Dorothy Fate,
Someone's already up there.
Dorothy Fate, 742 High Tower Way.
Okay.
Planning board members, thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns about this development as it currently is presented. My concern, as Janice's, was that it's along the Birdsong Trail. I believe the board has the ability to put more restrictions on the development of this property per the town code under development, chapter 296, section 19C.
Give me an example, so is what more could we do? I mean, the code says.
The board finds the project would have if the board finds that the project would have an adverse impact on adjacent
Right.
land uses, it can add additional restrictions. Birdsong is an important wildlife corridor connecting large parcels of undeveloped properties. I would ask the board to consider the character of this mature treed lot and require the developer to consult with an arborist and present a plan that not only marks all mature, healthy trees defined by Webster Code under Chapter 296, Section 15A, Item 19 as 8 inches in diameter, but presents a plan that preserves these trees and the existing vegetation vital to the wildlife habitat. Webster's comprehensive plan may have been completed in 2008, but it was prepared by a committee consisting of Webster citizens and town officials. It included a future land use plan, and it recommended cluster development. However, according to the plan, the space created in the open portion of the cluster was to preserve wildlife habitat, reduce erosion, and enhance scenic and aesthetic qualities, according to page 3 of the comprehensive plan. All our town departments and boards should be using the comprehensive plan as a roadmap in their own long-range planning. I ask this board to honor our comprehensive plan's intent and hold the developer to those objectives. I would further encourage the board to consider requesting a more in-depth seeker review, as this is an ecologically sensitive area. Our comprehensive plan on page 30 does indicate that the planning board should utilize this tool to protect development in Webster. The property has areas of standing water and does filter to Mill Creek, an important watershed that needs to be protected. I would propose that this property as such provides critical habitat, and a retention pond as a proposed and specimen landscape plantings does not protect or provide appropriate cover for most wildlife. This is also an important safe corridor between Charles Sexton Park and the less developed properties to the east. I would ask the board to consider the environmental pressure it has already placed on the Birdsong Trail with its prior approval of the cluster development at the Orchard Street Holt Road entrance to the trail. I would contend that there is a silent majority of Webster residents who view the preservation of mature, undisturbed treed lots as critical to the aesthetic qualities of Webster. This large parcel was designated as a parcel of interest in a prior commissioned studies by the town, and as such, the developer should be held to a higher standards that are available within our current code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could we have a copy of that letter you have? Ma'am? Can we get a copy of that letter? I didn't hear. Some of your comments, I agree 100%, and that's why, that's what the engineer was just saying. Part of the proposal is for a seeker review, which is an environmental review. That's increasing everything, the drainage, air quality, lighting, everything. So that's correct. And as far as the trees and stuff, that's standard also. The trees get marked, 8-inch trees, 10-inch, depending on the subdivision and what they look like, but you're on cue with that, and that's a legitimate request. Those are good. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
No problem. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Decker. My address is 726 Bell Arbor Trail. Did you guys hear that? I've been here since November of 2022. I would like to start by expressing a heartfelt thank you to the board for your faithful service to this town. Thank you for the chance to address you. I'm grateful that you're willing to listen to all of us, because I know it's probably tedious. I will also try to skip over things that have already been addressed. My journey to Webster was exhaustive. I looked everywhere from Arundecoit Bay halfway through Wayne County, and somebody turned to me and told me that Webster is a town where life is worth living, so I was kind of happy to see that behind you there today. And I would agree with that assessment. My home, I bought on purpose because it was near this trail, and part of the real estate livability score that you get when you're picking a home has to do with whether you can get places without using a car. And I'm very excited to tell you that by walking or riding my bike, I can get to the rec center, to the town of Webster, to the lake, and to the North Ponds Park, all by your fabulous, excellent trail system. And I use it every day. And as such, what I want to address is what I have seen as decimation on the bird trail in the last week. And either the town is doing it, or it's that the division that she mentioned just west of Orchard and north of the trail that I think is already approved. There were two bulldozers, a red one and a blue one, driving right down the trail at me while I was trying to walk. They ruined both sides of the trail. They drove down the creek, up the other side, and they clear cut. I could hear the cracking of the trees, and they made a swath wide enough to be a road on the north side of the creek. It's at least 100 feet long. They cleared another 60, 70 feet just south of the creek and directly on the trail. I have pictures of all of it. I went over yesterday, and I took them yesterday afternoon, and it is devastating. So if this building project is responsible for the bulldozers, and if the builders are going to have this kind of disregard for whatever they agreed to with you, I have great consternation about what the next set of builders is going to do, because I cherish the trail, and it's the only place that I can go in full shade and be protected and be out all day. So and I can't prove these machines were from the builder, but let's see, I'm asking you these questions. Why would a builder not consider the impact that their proposed project has on the livability of its neighbors? Why would a builder not consider what their project will do to the neighboring home values? I was willing to overpay for my house because I could be near this trail system. I have a tiny house and a tiny yard, but I'm so happy because of where it is. Also, why would a builder choose to clear cut the smallest strip of forest and habitat on the most used trail in the town just in order to build? And my only answer is profit. I propose that the code regarding preservation of vegetation and habitat is much too lenient in its verbiage, providing too much discretion on the part of the builder. I have witnessed firsthand and given testimony to the utter disregard for the trail, the woods, and the law by men and their machines. You, the board, are the only thing standing between the builder's desire for profit and your community's quiet enjoyment of our own properties. So what I would propose is that we be allowed to offer a fair or above market value and keep the entire area wild. Somehow make them an offer and make it a park, or just protect it forever wild. Is that possible? That's all I have.
So you're saying there's construction vehicles were in there. I asked the engineers, I don't believe you have any,
I have pictures of the piles of the trees they just left.
Yeah, no, I believe what you're
It's-
saying.
Yeah, it's there.
I,
It was devastating. And
All
it
right,
was
let me-
last week, last Thursday, Friday,
okay.
this week, Monday.
I've got you. I believe what you're saying. Mr. Vars, would you just address, I don't believe that the engineering, that the developer would even attempt to go in there and do anything like that.
No, there's been no activity on
Yeah,
that
so
site.
somebody else is
I
somebody
think they're
is-
talking about a different piece of property
Yeah.
along the trail.
Must be.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify it.
What I'm saying is, if the other builder who did get approved agreed to whatever is legally required by environment, and now they're doing this, what
Well, we don't know-
guarantee do we have that the other builder won't?
No, this, we, yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
figured out where he's doing it.
Was there anyone else wish to speak? or- Sure, go ahead. What's that? Okay.
Hi, Ken Yanklowski, 768 Bell Hour Trail. The only thing I can add is, I understand, the board not maybe being able to stop this project, but you can't put limitations on it. So, the setback, the front setback is set for 50 feet right now. Reduce that down, move the houses closer to the road, which will have more open space towards the trail. Also, you can put a limit on the size of the dwelling. Let's say the houses can't be bigger than 1,500 square feet. Now, you open up more open space because the footprint is much smaller. And that's really all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Yeah, that's, again, see, that goes back, this board is guided by the town code, and I hear your points, but you're saying 1,500 feet. The code allows, in an R3 zone, I believe what's the minimum, 2,200 square feet, I believe it is?
For the size of the home?
Yes,
Well, there's a minimum
Yeah,
requirement
and I
of
think-
at least 1,400 square feet
14 is minimum
minimum.
for it, and that would be like a small ranch or something. Yeah.
Correct.
So it's guided by that too, and the developer is gonna put something up the neighbors that are in the area wouldn't wanna see something less expensive than their houses, I'm sure. I don't know if there's any of the local residents that are on, the existing subdivisions around there, but you'd wanna have normal sized houses. Yeah, you can go up.
I'm Cecilia Robello. I live at 1291 Foothill Circle. The development backs up to me, and so does the pond. I'll take a small piece of a house compared to 2,200 square feet and save the wildlife.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, I think I just want to touch on
Yeah,
some of
just
the.
give us your name and address.
Sorry, Diana Davis, 942 Gaywood Lane. One of the writers of the letter you received, not the person who sent it to the town. Apologies that there were no contact details. We weren't trying to be incognito. Okay, so I think one main point to say is I do think that the wildlife preservation is on everyone's mind, and I think that that is probably more significant to the neighbors in the area than, the size of the house and how nice the house looks. I think that it definitely impacts upon the home values. It definitely impacts upon the adjacent land use for the Birdsong Trail. That sort of piece of property, even though it is not official parkland, has kind of been functioning as parkland for a lot of people in the area. There's trails where people walk their dogs. It's a buffer to the trail itself. I understand that that is not, you can't just argue, well, because people are using it, therefore the person that owns the land doesn't get to sell it. But as the planning board, right, as we have mentioned, you are entitled to place restrictions on the development that are outside of the R3 zoning. The zoning isn't all you have to work with for the R3. You can also work with the subdivision zoning, which is why we put those items in the letter, which pertain to not just the preservation of trees that are greater than 8 or 10 inches, but also just a consciousness, right, of the wildlife itself. And I do take your point that R3 zoning allows up to, whatever it is, 2,200 square feet or something like that. And I don't know how much remit you have to say the house itself needs to be smaller, but surely the setback could be reduced. I actually think that's a pretty brilliant idea. And just say no clear cutting. I mean, there are actually, development in Webster has, I think, historically been such a problem, right? Because we've had a lot of developments that have been these sort of clear cutting, sweeping lawns, tumbleweed blowing across the prairie kind of style things. But not every development in Webster have been like that. I'm thinking of a couple that are off of Holt. I used to actually DoorDash as one of my 80 million jobs. And there are some really nice developments in Webster that left their like old mature trees. Gasberry Lane is another one that I'm thinking of. And they're beautiful. So I'm just thinking, if you're now going to have the houses be for sale and not for rent, you are selling them to people that want to be lifelong, theoretically, residents. They're going to want to pay for access to that wildlife. They would buy woodlots. You're not going to be losing out on profit as a developer if you make these houses basically in a woodlot. And just to speak to, overall, I think the context that we're talking about, I do think that the other development that has been approved at the other end of the trail, I think unfortunately, it's kind of like with Webster, developments that have come before, even though it's nowhere written officially into the code, you don't want 8 Walmarts, right? Even though something might be zoned and a Walmart might want to come in. You have to consider things in context. And because that one came on the other end, it's now made this one a lot more sensitive and dicey and a hot topic because of the impact it's going to have on wildlife. And everybody that lives in that area cares about the wildlife. I've gone door to door talking to people. They all care. It's not just about the peace and the tranquility that the nature affords. They connect with the little does in their backyard and, little squirrels and everything else. So I think that it should be, as Dottie said, held to a higher standard because of that. And I do want to say the damage that we were talking about, it's kind of like a secondary topic, right? Because there's no guarantee this engineer could just as easily stand up and say, well, our guys won't do that, right? But I think it's just an example of how close the development is to the trail, really, and how they're just right up against each other. And so therefore, the utmost standards, I think, by you guys, you are the buffer between what could be a beautiful development with lots of trees and all the residents around the area are happy and the trail is still preserved and yay, everybody gets to buy woodlots, and what could be just like a clear-cut nightmare and everybody's really upset about it. Like, I think that there is an argument to say that some of the things that the applicant hasn't done yet need to be done. So I'm not going to read the letter back to you, but that 296-15A, right?
You got it.
Giving the plan for the preserving existing vegetation, not clear cutting and planting a few things. And then, right, 296-16A, you guys then basically requiring them to maintain existing vegetation and wildlife habitats within the site, right? So anyway.
Generally, and there's good points, and again, and so I tried to say before, but those are the items that we do look at a final approval for
Right.
projects. I mean, you could look at minutes of other meetings in the past in wooded areas like that.
Yeah.
We've preserved trees, we've worked around trees, we've done everything you can possibly do. And we do that. So who's thinking that we're annihilating the woods and doing this? That's the stuff that gets frustrating
Sure.
for this
And-
board, because that's not factual stuff.
I think the concern was because tonight's application is for preliminary and final subdivision plat approval in one, and the current plat does not have anything related to what we would want to see, I think, as a community in terms of like tree preservation. We don't want to see approval go forward before like that, site plan gets changed to reflect some actual effort to like keep the woods.
We've discussed this actually a couple of weeks ago with the engineers and the town staff and stuff. And this was the outcome of it, is let's hold on that, because this really has some environmental issues. We're aware, everybody here is aware of it.
Yeah.
And let's address them. So that's why tonight, I don't think we're moving forward with the preliminary and final approval, because it's going to be gone through the seeker process. So a determination, what's the significance of it? Probably is gonna be, I guess, Josh, a type 1?
That is correct.
A type 1 action, which means that there'll be a period of time. The only thing we can probably do here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, is our board takes lead agency to the project. Am I correct? We would be lead agency for the project. We would get information. Anybody else that would want to take it, which we doubt very much anybody's, the county isn't going to want it, the state isn't going to want it, so the town's stuck with it. So we end up being lead agency to the project. Then there's a 30-day period where information and so on and so forth can come in and so on, and then we move forward with that. And then items like what you folks were saying tonight, those are the items that are addressed in this. So This is nowhere near done by any stretch.
Understood. I guess I still would have the concern that once you give approval, there's less remit within the seeker process to, for instance, require a preservation of a certain amount of trees. Who's going to be the one pushing on that?
Well,
That would be
as
my
much-
question.
Yeah, sometimes, I'm talking too much here, I know, but sometimes when we look at trees on a property, you take an area where a sewer line, a gas line, a water line have to, service this house. That takes out 99% of the trees in the front. The best place they can be preserved is the back, which is generally what we do, is try and save the trees along the back. And the Birdsong project, if you will, the parkland, actually has a 100-foot buffer of parkland that's, in adjacent to this piece of property.
So are we saying that on the current subdivision, or on the current plan, that sort of light green here, this is inaccurate? Because this is,
That's parkland back there.
does this, yes, but where's the 100-foot buffer?
Well, 100 feet of the parkland is buffer to it.
That's not quite the same thing. So I just have one more question, and then I won't take up any more of your time. So my understanding, and I did get in touch with a lawyer, just to check that I had this understanding right. The sections of the code require the developer to submit the location and proposed development of all buffer areas, location of existing stands of trees, particular notation, prior to approval. That these contents are not optional. So not only that, but for you to then ensure, right, 296-16A, that, that existing vegetation and wildlife habitats are maintained, when the plan quite clearly doesn't address that, to defer that, to say, well, that's going to be done at the level of seeker, you're approving it before you've done those two items. So that, to me, what I was advised by the lawyer that I consulted is that those two items are not optional. And if they're not attended to prior to approval, it opens us up to an Article 78
I
appeal.
think all this stuff would be before approval anyways, wouldn't it? I don't know what she's,
The board cannot act on the application until the seeker process is completed. So what Tony's referring to in working with the developer and addressing some of these concerns.
Got you. He said the board cannot act on the application until the seeker development process is completed.
Correct.
So you're saying approval is not going to be issued tonight, it's just going to be designated a type 1 seeker?
yeah, that's
The
right.
planning board is going to declare themselves lead agency, go through the seeker process. And
But you're not granting approval tonight?
No, that's what I said before.
I'm going to shut up and go down then, okay,
That's what I
thank you.
said
That's-
before.
So,
sorry.
It'll only be for the seeker
Okay.
process tonight.
So
We
the
need to take lead
concerns that have been
agency.
raised, the board can take the opportunity to address it with the developer and the
Okay.
engineer.
Okay.
And they can take that feedback.
Okay.
Amend their plans and resubmit.
Okay.
At a later date after the seeker process has run its course.
Yes.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much, I
Sure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, anybody want to ask a couple more questions? We'll open a couple more, I don't want to just repetition, but again, please understand that this property has been for sale, somebody buys it, as much as we would want to say, God, it's a beautiful piece, add it to the park. Well, who's going to add it to the park? Whoever, go talk to the town and tell them to buy it. The town has bought it. They're not gonna buy every piece of land to appease every person, every little piece around. All right, we're not gonna argue this here, okay? All right, anyone else wish to make a comment? I hear you, but I can't see you. What'd she say?
The neighbors offered
You have to go to the mic.
at a fair price. This is profit 101.
No, let her go. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Isabel Kaplan. I live at 1278 Clear Pond. I have a question about the map. I need a clarification, please. This yellow, this green strip here, this L shape, is this part of?
Yeah, that would be part of that
Lily
lot,
Grace
yes.
property?
That would be part of that lot, the first lot there, yes.
Okay, so it's actually not a buffer zone to 250 or anything like that?
No, that road, it goes out to 250, but there's nothing there. It's just a narrow strip of land, that's just the way the land is, because there's already an owner for property right next to it there, the gray spot.
Okay.
So
Yes,
the green, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious about whether that could be somehow preserved as woodland.
Well, originally, actually, if we think back, when the applicant came in originally, what they were gonna do there was make a parking lot for, for the birdsong sanctuary. Well, the neighbors, the adjacent neighbors, they weren't too thrilled with that, making it a parking lot, rightfully so. So the developer said, okay, then we'll just leave it the way it is, and it'll be part of the lot, that's it.
Okay, all right, I just
Okay.
need clarification. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, anyone else? I'll take a couple more if anybody wants to. Sure, go ahead.
Hi, how's it going?
Sure, go ahead.
My name is Kevin. I live over on Kittleberger Park. From what I'm hearing tonight is that the people want a comprehensive plan for the town to steer more towards an open green space and preserving green space. And they're concerned about the interests of this planning board. And so I think we just got to have some clarity on not only the comprehensive plan and prioritizing for people who clearly here in Webster want to preserve the open space and the green space, but also reflect that in the zoning map, because we're very cognizant of what's happening in Penfield. They changed the comprehensive plan last year, shifted the whole plan to the zoning map, and now they're building a Costco and ruining that whole beautiful stretch of land. We are just, from what I hear from the people here, it sounds like we're all worried about that happening here, and so we just want to grasp onto our comprehensive plan and have a good sense that the people here are at least going to agree on the document, and that we're going to have some ability to negotiate on behalf of nature with this board. Because you might see a growth in the tax base and want to enlarge in the tax base or whatever, sell to developers, however that all works, and do the business. And if you're good at the business, then that's going to be growing. However that works, I don't know, but that's what I wanted to say. So
Well, thank you, appreciate it. Good comments. You're right, and the comprehensive, coincidentally, their comprehensive plan is what designed this as residential R3 years ago. So that's why it is what it is, and we just go by the book. If it was zoned for an apartment, that'd be another whole story. If the zoning got changed, I don't think anybody would like that either, so. But anyways, that's what it is, and that's what we deal with. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, my name is Jeanette Chambers, and I live at 1474 Oakmont Boulevard. I grew up here. I love this little town. I respect the fact that this person bought that land. I get it. What you said about the older couple having property, my parents were those parents.
There you go.
And he needed to sell his property. It wasn't here, it was in Ontario, but I get it. My concern here is what I heard the woman say earlier, not about this property, but about the property where she was out for a walk and met a bulldozer. Are there guardrails around when this person does bring in and start developing the housing that we can prevent meeting a bulldozer on the trail? Is there something that does do that?
That's a very good point. Yeah, actually, that's one of the first things that's required, is they'll have to be putting fencing around. It won't be a barbed wire fence or anything like that nature, but they will.
And not a Trump wall, nothing like that?
No, nothing like that. No, but they will have to, move mark off the perimeter.
Okay.
And for erosion off of the property and so on. And they will not go onto anything of the parkland by any means.
Okay, I appreciate that.
That's a protected-
And I really want to have the utmost faith in this person who bought the land, that they respect Webster. They came here to build in Webster because they obviously see value in it. I know there's a lot of profit. I know that people are talking about that. But I want to hold in my heart somewhere, they want to hold the integrity of Webster. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, is there anyone else? If not, we'll, Okay, then we'll close this portion of the meeting. We'll bring it back up to the board. Anybody, any comments, or, I guess tonight, basically what the decision was that we were gonna do is to just move forward with seeker on this project tonight. Peter?
No further questions from the board then?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
on.
probably what we'll do, I'm assuming we'll get a summary of we'll get the meeting minutes, and probably like what we'll do is we'll request a meeting with the PRC, and we'll hash through these just like we did before.
Yep.
And we'll find out the path forward.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we thank you for your time this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. I can't hear you now. Everybody's talking now. We've closed the hearing, so.
If nobody is supervising the project already started, if they.
There's no project, no, wait. There's no project started.
Well, there's bulldozers there.
I don't know where, that has nothing to do with this, ma'am.
That's what
I don't know where you're seeing the bulldozers, but there's none there. These are the misconceptions that come in. Where were they? By Orchard Street. That's another whole world.
Could that be the village?
It has nothing to do with this.
I would like to clarify.
Okay, that's
with
enough.
them
We're
so
done.
they-
We're good. Thank you.
Tony,
the
Tony,
truth,
could that be the village?
It could be.
Yeah.
Very well be.
We'll let them
Take care, Kenny.
go.
All right.
That's
Yeah. I'm gonna quiet down a little bit here.
a tree.
All right, so our job right now is to make a determination and, hey, folks, listen. Look at, if you want to talk, please go out in the hall. If you want, we still have to finish this part of the meeting.
Now they think it was the builders and.
Thank you.
But yeah, we should really coordinate that. Yeah,
There's always like that, we should have crowd.
because I was getting calls and emails and pictures and I didn't know that. And,
Yes.
you know, we sent 3 people out there to look at different areas.
Yeah.
Find out it was a drainage project.
We're gonna take a few minutes for a little commercial time here. I think that's what they do with TV, don't they?
Let's sell some medicine that'll cure acne or something.
Next item is here.
Yep, no, it's on the list. It's on the list.
Keep their lands.
Type 1 action, am I correct here? We're making this a type 1 action, right
Your
there?
intent to declare lead agency.
Okay, so then we
Would you like
need to
me to-
make a
would you like me
motion.
to read this?
I'm sorry?
I'll read the
Have you
motion.
got one? Oh, go ahead, use it, sure, certainly.
This is a motion for intent to establish lead agency. Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board,
Can we shut the door?
excuse me,
Folks,
Please. can you take the conversation out in the hallway? Sir,
could you go out in the hall, please?
We're
please.
still conducting the meeting.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll start over again.
Yeah, that's right.
So, motion for intent to establish lead agency. Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board considered the request by applicant Grove Underhill LLC to create a 9-lot subdivision consisting of 8 single-family residences and an associated stormwater management facility located on the east end of Conifer Cove Lane and Webster Road on a 5.55 acre parcel having the SBL number 065.18-1-27 and in a R3 single-family residential district under sections 669-11, 669-20, and 350-12 of the Town of Webster, of the Code of the Town of Webster. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board determined that the action is subject to a single agency review pursuant to Part 617.6B4 of seeker, and that
that it is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance. The planning board therefore designates itself lead agency for the proposed action. Now therefore be resolved that the planning board has determined that the action is a type 2 action based on the following criteria. Number one, the New York State Department of Health Title 10, Part 97, regulations implementing state environmental quality review, section 97.14, lists of department actions, 97.14B2, II, lists realty subdivision as type 1 action. The proposed project as a realty subdivision is defined by the public health law.
That's your motion, we need a second.
I just have a question. Early on, you
Let me get a
said.
second first, wait a minute.
Second.
And we have a
Well,
second,
that
go
was
ahead.
Wait,
This
hold on a
is the
second.
motion there. You
Hold
said-
on 1 second. Josh, you clarification, right?
Yeah, I heard,
Type
and
two.
I don't know if I was the only one, but I heard you read into the record that the board was declaring it as a type 2, but I think we need to clarify that
Yeah,
it's
I
a
heard the
type
same.
1.
Type 1,
Just to clarify the motion.
type 1.
Okay.
Type 1 action.
So it's a
Derek-
type 1 action.
Derek
okay.
said
It's a type 1 action.
And we
section,
have a second, so go ahead, Jen.
Derek said section 669, but on the sheet here it says section 269-11.
I heard him say 269.
269-11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
26911.
All right, I stand corrected. then.
Okay, no problem.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion, have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? Good with that. All right, that's resolved, we're done.
Need an action on the application, probably to table it.
I don't know, how long, how do we table it?
So, the 30-day clock will then essentially start tomorrow. That puts us at September 8th, roughly, which is 2 days after the next planning board meeting. So I'm proposing that we potentially hold a special
Yeah,
meeting later in
before.
September,
Mhm.
once the 30-day clock has expired, as to not delay them to the October meeting.
Mhm.
So, if you're looking for a date,
So that would be, what Tuesday would that be on there?
yeah, I believe it's Tuesday, the 20th. Would it be
No, that would be,
24th?
I think our next meeting is September 2nd or 3rd.
The third, it would be third would be the normal date.
You want
Right.
the
Well, it's
17th.
third- It goes to the 30 days.
It would go to the third
So
Tuesday
you
of
have to go-
September.
You have to go to the 10th, but that's zoning board too.
17th.
I got it.
You want the
17th.
17th.
You have to go to the 17th.
I got a
17th.
question about that, actually.
What's that?
Through the motion, we establish ourselves as lead agency with single agency review.
Right, and the intent was to do a coordinated review.
Is
What-
that the intent?
That's what, yes, that's what we're prepared to do.
Okay. I
Yes.
just want to clarify that, because if we weren't going to do a coordinated review, the 30 days doesn't hold.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
We-
the
we
intent
can-
was to
we
do a
can do it
coordinated
within
review.
All right,
could
so
do
just to,
what?
just to
We could do it
confirm, it's the
unless- we could do
17th?
it Tonight, if you want to do, as a single agency. You know, this is literally a single agency review.
Well, the Monroe County Department of Public Health has, they have to weigh in on this, right, and give their approval,
They definitely have to sign off on it.
right? So that they need to approve the project. But,
That was my
right,
understanding.
so if they have to approve the project, then it would be a coordinated review.
Right, and because New York State DOT's involved, we felt that that was the better way to go.
Right.
So yeah, it'd be a coordinated review.
So the coordinated review, I guess the question is, for scheduling purposes, is the 30-day actually necessary? Because in the regulation, when it talks about 30 days for coordinated review, that's for when there's multiple agencies involved as lead agent.
Well, I thought that they have 30 days to contest this board's
You have to give them
declaration.
notice that you're declaring yourself as lead agency, they have 30 days to respond.
Right, and they rarely do, but that's how we had anticipated moving forward on this.
Okay. I just want to make sure to bring that up.
That's a good point.
So
So
did,
anyway,
so did we agree on the 17th?
So what's the date gonna be then?
It would be September 17th,
17th,
going under
okay.
that.
So,
Model.
okay, that would be at September 17th, would be the next. All right. All right, let's see, we have one more application here too yet.
So is there?
Why don't you go ahead with the last
we
one?
can
We
kind
have
of
to- oh, I'm
resolution?
You
sorry.
have to resolve the previous application, whether you're tabling it to the 17th.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too. All right, so let's, want to make a motion? Well, I'll make a motion. We table the conifer bird song, whatever one you want to call it, to the September 17th special meeting on the 17th of September.
Okay, I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, we're good. Yeah, good. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
moving on, all right.
Yep,
Last
sure.
item on tonight's agenda is LA Fitness sign located at 929 Holt Road. The applicant, Randy DiNatale, is requesting sign approval associated with the installation of 2 building-mounted facade signs, one being 275 square feet, the other being 173 square feet, and tenant panels on existing monument signs to reflect the name change from Espora Fitness back to LA Fitness on a 5.58 acre parcel located in a high-intensity commercial district under section 265-7 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Hi, my name is Randy DiNatale. My address is 2900 Hunters Lane, Sanborn, New York. And I'm representing Flexum LA Fitness. And I'm here before the board as requested.
Okay. Pretty much signs are in the same areas?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Signs are pretty much in the same area, right?
Yep,
Same
exact
thing.
same area.
Just new name.
LA Fitness was there before, and then
Yeah.
Esporta, and then back and forth. But it's gonna be LA Fitness again.
Did they save the old sign?
We should have. We've been changing them all over the state.
Put it
so-
back up again.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need any variances, any extra signs on there, everything's existing, they're all pretty much the same thing, right? Same
Correct.
layout.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right, anybody any questions on it? Josh, are you okay with it, engineering wise?
Yeah, they meet the requirements, and there were, a previous variance had been granted to have the second sign
Yeah,
at this
sign.
location, so
Okay, cool.
that would remain.
Okay. All right, with that, want to make a motion for a seeker? You're on a roll with it. Oh, you got his wife asking him to bring a loaf of bread.
No, it's, I printed it, but it's, there it is. Town of Webster Planning Board considered a request by applicant Randy DiNatale to to install 2 building mounting facade signs, one being 273 square feet and the other being 173 square feet, and tenant panels on an existing monument signs to reflect the name change from Espora Fitness back to LA Fitness located at 929 Holt Road on a 5.58 acre parcel having SPL number 079.12-1-19.001. The planning board classifies a proposed action as a type 2 action under section 617.5C9 of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations, and therefore is not subject to further review.
Okay, have a motion,
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, we're all set. We're
Thank
done
you.
with that. So, the sign approval, somebody make a sign motion for that?
We'll reach out to you when the permit's ready to be picked up.
Okay, great. Sounds good. I appreciate it. Sounds good.
Jenny, you wanna make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion for, wrong place, for Randy DiNatale, for a sign up for the installation of 2 building mounting facade signs, one being 275 square feet and the other being 173 square feet, and tenant panels on existing monument signs to reflect the name change from Esporta Fitness to LA Fitness, at 929 Holt Road.
Have
Second.
a motion, have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, have a good night.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the July 2nd, 2024 Planning Board minutes.
Need a
I'll
second?
second it.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're good with that. All right, guess with that, we're all set. Thanks for coming in.